Hey, Ramiz.
Hello, Vince. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Could be a bit better. Got an aching hand at the moment, but it's okay.
Oh, what's wrong with your hand?
Oh, I had a joint replaced in my finger yesterday, so I might be even still affected by the anaesthetic as well. And then I didn't sleep last night, the whole night. I was awake all night. Yeah, but such is life. It'll be fine.
I hope so.
Mm. Well, I mean, she cut the finger apart like it was my ring finger, but she cut from there to there. I opened it out, took off the end of that bone, and put a plastic joint in there. And now I've got to wait for the bone to grow over the plastic and all of the flesh and everything to reheal. So that's just a process that takes time.
How much time?
Oh, I said to my golfing friends, I'll be back in 14 weeks. So it's the healing plus some physiotherapy, and how I hope to be playing golf by winter time. Mm. I mean, this one where she did the whole wrist joint, it's actually healed up, but I still don't have full strength. But at least I have got the use of it now, so it's good, and it's not and there's no pain anymore. So that's also good. So and that was a much bigger job than this one. This was only a one finger. This one's now got a cadmium steel thing with a ball joint here that goes from here right up to here. So it was quite big. I mean, not as big as a knee or a hip, but certainly big enough. Yeah. Oh, it's a bugger getting old, I tell you. Yeah. So I've been seeing you advertising for work. Have you been getting any work?
No,
No. Oh, bugger. Yeah. It's a hard road to get known and get people who want to use you, and then people that talk about you so other people will do it. In the beginning, of course, is the hardest.
I don't know if it can be considered the start or the beginning. Uh, I've been in that business for almost 5 years,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but the last year I haven't been working, so it feels like starting again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of momentum when you get working. People talk about you. When you stop, nobody knows you. Yeah, I guess it is a bit like starting again.
Yeah,
And you're competing with a lot of people too, I suppose. I mean,
yeah.
I built a website for the funeral business that I'm involved in, and we would get easily 5 or 6 spam mails every single day with people who want to rebuild it and people who want to improve our SEO ratings and all this kind of stuff, just constant spam, never stops. I'm sure they've got bots that do it. There's so many of them. Yeah. I don't even look at them anymore. They just go straight in the bin. If they don't, if the spam folder misses them, I just drop them in the bin. So have you been playing with artificial intelligence at all?
Not recently. I just got access to the internet like a week ago
Oh,
or
okay.
something. I don't have enough time to do a lot of things, so I'm doing what I'm doing best to just get some uh, income.
Yep, yep.
Uh,
And that's taken up most of
and
your time.
yeah, but it's manageable, I suppose. I'm having fun.
Oh, well,
Uh,
that's very important. Yeah. So what is it you're doing for income?
I'm a graphic designer. I design branding. Um, um, I'm doing also recently. I'm learning to do websites, stuff like that.
Learning to do what?
Websites.
Oh, websites. Yes, yeah, yeah. So the graphics design stuff, have you got companies that employ you?
I had in the past, yeah.
Hmm. But not regular now.
No, I'm still like starting over, rebuilding some connections,
Yep.
audience.
Yep. Hmm. Hi, Maya.
Whoa.
So how have you been going, Ramiz, with this stuff?
I have no idea, but I can't say I can't say that I'm suffering.
Okay, just tell me a bit more about that. So you can't say that you're suffering, you said. Is that right?
Yeah.
So are the same conditions there when you used to suffer, but now you don't call it suffering, or are the conditions changed?
Some things changed. Um, I'm still getting similar triggers, but I have I think I have a different relationship to what comes up.
Yep, that's a big one. I would imagine that now that you're not living at home, you're not getting triggered as much.
Well, yeah, so I'm still getting triggered. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know the frequency. Um,
So are the source of triggers different now, or only when you visit?
it's the same, I suppose.
Are you able to recognize that shift in perspective? Do you know what's different? I mean, it's a pretty major thing to say that you can't call it suffering now. That's a big shift, isn't it? Does it seem big to you?
It does, but I'm not sure because of I'm too busy to notice it, maybe, or what.
I think I heard you say that you um, have a different perspective on it now. Is that accurate?
I notice more when I'm getting triggered,
Yes.
and like I'm seeing that the mechanism it doesn't. I'm able to sit with it, not react as I was before.
Before there was a, a fairly intense bodily reaction frequently. You would get really strong sensations. Is that still? I mean, if you're sitting with it, I presume that's not the same as it was.
It's I'm still having or feeling some kind of sensations, contractions.
The same intensity as you were before.
Yeah, I think. I feel like if there's a difference would be it's now things are going slower. Um,
So when you say things are going slower, does it seem like time has slowed down for you in those
yes,
Yeah,
significantly, yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's big. That's big. That makes a lot more space. You've got more opportunity to sit with it, to look at it.
Before I feel like I was diving like too deep into it. Now I'm just not as much as before, only when it feels necessary um, or have time for it.
Hmm. So would you say this is just happening, or is there conscious decisions being made about
Mm, no, no decisions.
just happening? Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah. Are you discovering anything when you can sit with it and just observe?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, that seed's been planted. You'll watch next time, probably, maybe. So when you say you're still being triggered, is that a daily event, multiple times a day, less than once a day? How frequently would you say you've been triggered these days?
No, not as frequent, but I can also be triggered by my own thoughts
Sure, of
of
course.
nothing happening.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And
something's happening, but yeah, yeah, your own thoughts. Well, of course, that was always the original trigger, even though well, every time. Yeah, okay. Let's just backpedal a bit. When circumstances trigger us, it's our thoughts that we bring to that we respond to. It's not, see, we talk about it like it's circumstances that trigger us, but it's not. It's our relationship to circumstances that triggers us. So, of course, without any external thing, you can still have those thoughts that trigger you. And where they come from, who knows? You don't know where those thoughts come from, do you? I mean,
no,
when external circumstances trigger the thoughts, it's easy to think that's what made those thoughts appear. But when the thoughts appear by themselves, without those external circumstances, it becomes a bit of a mystery. Oh, why did that? But they're still triggered. Those thoughts are triggered, and then you respond to them. So if there's suffering, that's the response to the thoughts that got triggered. So a thought can trigger other thoughts. But really amazingly subtle things can set us off. You know, things like a sound, a colour, you know, all sorts of things that will remind us of something. I've recently had this experience myself when we surf through Netflix and Paramount and various things looking for something to watch, and we go, oh, let's watch that. And as we start watching it, we get a little hint that, oh, I think we've already seen this, but I don't remember anything about the story. And then I go, oh yeah, I definitely we've seen this. And what it's what gets it's triggered the recognition that we've seen it. I still don't know the story, but by the most mundane scene. It's crazy. You know, it could be what, like one last night was just all of a sudden it was these two blokes stood in front of a wall. And when I saw that, I went, ah, deja vu. You know, I saw that. I recognise that I've seen that one. Had no idea of the story, no idea what came next, but that simple scene triggered me into knowing that we'd seen it before. We'd seen it at least that far in, because we often start watching something and then go, not really interested, and stop watching it. And then further down the track, we'll be back at it, but we don't realise that had started watching it before until something like that happens. So it's really crazy what can trigger a thought, what can trigger a memory, what can trigger a response. You know, it can be really subtle stuff. you know, and if you traced it back, it might be the colour of a dress that your mother wore, you know, a particular shade of grey, or who knows, you know, whatever. It can just be the most insignificant thing that will trigger something in you. And it's by association, of course. When you get triggered by a thought, seemingly not as a result of external conditions, does it ever come to you why that thought appeared? What triggered it?
It's often like an assumption about something happened. Like I don't have um, just my mind coming up with an assumption about something happened or someone did something,
All right.
and I find myself triggered and being having a defensive attitude or in my head, and my head is just trying to justify why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, how it's
Right.
and it happened yesterday, and I was like, I was amused by it, and it turned out it just my assumption was wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I laughed like all this is just in my head, like absolutely in my head.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Do you recognize that assumption equals story?
Yeah,
When we say assumption, there's a kind of there's an inbuilt implication about a relationship to something. When we say a story, it kind of breaks that connection a little bit, and we can go, oh yeah, that can just be purely in our head, a story. But when you recognize that an assumption is a story, it's easier to see how it can just be something that's in your head. Mm. And it's good that you laughed at it. That was brilliant. When you see the ridiculousness of it, when you see that it's hasn't got any firm ground to be on, that's when you laugh. You know, you go, wow, yeah, where did that come from? What's that about? Yeah. All suffering comes back to that. All suffering sits on assumptions. See, it's easy to see, you know, that the pain in my hand has a physical cause. So there's no story that says I shouldn't feel the pain. But if it happened as a result of an accident, it would be easy to have a story that said that accident should not have happened, and then there would be suffering because of the story, not because of the pain, not because of the physical thing, but because of the idea that it should not have happened. So have you got any curiosity or queries? Is there are you, how can I put it? Are you satisfied with the tools that you have that will uh, promise progress? That's kind of a funny way to put it, but you know what I mean, eh? Or is there, do you feel stuckness in any way?
Past few days, I felt I don't know how to describe it. It's like things are on autopilot.
What things?
Like in the experience, the inward experience specifically.
Yes, yeah. You see that as a positive thing? Are you recognizing that things just happen?
I guess the thought was I'm not uh, awake as I should be of what's happening inside me.
Okay. So you have another assumption there about how awake you should be. Do you hold that lightly, or is it a serious issue?
It's not serious, but maybe it's not serious enough.
Okay. Right. So I sense a control issue here. If you worked harder, no pain, no gain. Is that involved?
I don't know what's the gain actually.
Yes. Good. 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 Yeah. Because this is not a game of gain, is it? It's not. This is not about. It seems like on the surface, it seems like uh, a game of achievement, and that could be. I mean, there's a lot of these stories that we come up with to explain what's there, but they're not very accurate as such. So although we're talking about change and we're talking about improvement and we're talking about less suffering, more contentment, all that kind of stuff, it's really hard to say that they're all true, but no, they're not true at all. So it's not. So the idea of progress is gets in the road of the progress. Yeah. So what I would really like for you to discover is that the changes that you've experienced just happened. They didn't happen because you wanted them to happen. They didn't happen because you worked at it. They happened because circumstances aligned. all of the conditions that were required for the change, however much it is, all of those were present and lined up in the right way. And then it happens. But of course, this stuff never stands still. It's always fluctuating. So it happens and then it seems to get lost, but it's not lost. It just means that something else has come to the fore because it's always in now. This is the really hard one to get your mind around. Now is not a result of a past or the future. I mean, it's easy to see now is not the result of the future, but we're really conditioned to think that now is the result of the past. There's an accumulation. But an experience changes you, and even the idea of change like that suggests a timeline. I was that way and now I'm this way. But you never was that way. This is a bit subtle and a bit tricky. You never was that way because when you was that way, you were this way. So it's always just now. It's always just this. So the idea of continuity, which is a bit future advanced kind of, maybe, I don't know how to put that either, but the idea of continuity is a myth. There is no continuity. There is always just this present moment, and the past doesn't evolve into this present moment because the past is a memory. And if we were to have a time machine and go back to the past, it would be now. It wouldn't be the past. It's conceptually, that's a tricky one to get your mind around, but essentially, it just seems like that. And it's okay to talk about it like it actually exists, just for practical purposes. But the reality is, it's always just now. Right? And so, any idea of being serious now to influence the future, well, you're being serious now, and whatever happens in the future will be now when that happens. But one's not correlation, is not causation. I don't know if that applies with this, but it's not. The future is not the result of the present. It has its own conditions. Is that too airy-fairy for you?
I feel like I feel what you're saying, or there are moments where um, I kind of lose the timeline orientation. Sometimes I forget like the order of things.
Yes, yeah, me too, big time, yeah. Yeah.
And I can't take seriously the future or even the past.
Yeah. So you've got
And
some grasp of it, yes. Mm. So the significance of that is that there is just this very moment. And if you immerse yourself in this, those other things don't exist. Stories can't exist. Now there's a tricky one. In this moment, there can be no stories. Stories always incorporate the concept of past or future. This now can only be experienced. The moment a story turns up, it's about something, and it's not about this. Although, although, just to play with that one, the story, if it's happening, can be this. But the content of the story isn't. It's always conceptual. The fact that it exists can be this. Yeah. But your what you said before about time slowing down, that's a classic. That's a beautiful one. That shows you the unreality of actual time. And it's a perception. Always. You heard about people that have an accident, and in that accident it's like everything happens in slow motion. It's like they've got plenty of time to do something as they're flying through the air. It's really weird. It can't be explained scientifically, but many people have that experience. Always in the middle of a crisis, time just changes. You can see with normal social uh, way of being how much people live in this idea of time all the time. They can't not. It's always past or future. And this, which is where direct experience happens, is missed. It's just glossed over. It's just not recognised to exist because we're so tied up in past and future. So you are experiencing this stuff. That's good. That's really good. And in that experience, you can have the idea that it will keep changing. There will be progress, betterment, whatever you like to say, recognising that they're stories, but that's okay. They're just stories, but they're relevant stories, but important to recognise, to keep recognising that they're just stories. Otherwise, we start to take them too seriously as well. So for some reason, Maya, I've been thinking about you quite a lot over the last few days. I recognise one of the things, Scott, who came to a meeting a couple of meetings ago, and I think you weren't here for that meeting, had played with artificial intelligence, and he had made I don't know what you call it, he had trained Chat GPT to do something. Were you here for that meeting? Do you remember him?
No,
No, no, okay.
no,
Yep. So what he
I
what he
missed that.
what he'd done is he'd taken quite a few of Panila's videos and transcribed them into text and use that for the knowledge base to train the artificial intelligence. And he gave me a link to it. I've asked him permission to share that link around, but although it's still a little limited, it's brilliant, absolutely amazing and brilliant. And so I've got quite excited, and he's shown me how to do this, and I've asked him some questions that I'm waiting on an answer for before I actually do it. But I want to use my website, which I've got as a PDF, as the knowledge base for it, and then I want to be able to modify it as well. But the one of the things that became obvious to me as I was playing with that was the limitations of asking it questions and then getting an answer that you read. Right? So it's very, very much an intellectual kind of process, even though there's an attempt to make it a visceral thing, you know. So I've modified the instructions in it, and we'll see how that goes. So I've said, I've told it, when you come up with an answer to a question, I want you to put it in terms of a question so that the person discovers the answer themselves. So it'll be really interesting to see if artificial intelligence can do that. But yeah, so as a result of that, I've been thinking of you. You know, that's that's been the trigger for that. And as I've been thinking of you, I kept thinking this. You know what? I think it's time for Maya to have a big shift. We need to. Uh, you've had a lot of little shifts, and very significant. I'm not denigrating them by saying little, but there've been significant shifts. Um, but it's time for you to jump over the fence and go, well, okay, well now I'm awake enough to be able to use tools for what comes up when it comes up. Yeah, so it's like, we're here, baby. Let's get moving.
Yeah. First, about what Scott did is, but I wouldn't have taken Panila's videos. I would have taken the texts from Liberation Unleashed.
Yeah,
You can train. He took a so to speak seed model and then tuned it to know more about awakening. This
yes,
is what he did.
yeah,
Yeah. So great, great that he did it, so I don't have to.
yes. Well, he hasn't done all the videos yet, and when I queried it, I found a few almost irrelevant inaccuracies. When it comes to the Feta model, it got a bit mixed up about what Feta 7 and what Feta 8 was and so on. And when I asked it, instead of using Feta numbers, I asked it about what the Feta, my description of the Feta, and it kept reverting back to, so that it does need some fine tuning in that area. Um, but yeah, so what you said about taking the Liberation Unleashed as the knowledge base, it was the same thing. I thought about, I wonder if I can use these meetings, right? So the backup video of this does do a transcription of these meetings, and I could use that to train it. But then I've got both sides, if you like. I've got the guide and the seeker, and how does it discriminate between one or the other? And that makes it a bit of a. And the same problem would be with the Liberation Unleashed transcripts, right? Because you've got the guide and you've got the response. So turning that into something useful could be a little bit tricky. Whereas with the PDF of my website, it's just all from one side. And with Panila's videos, it's just all from one side. Right? So there's no confusion there's no input from a seeker for it to, yeah, it's only from the guide perspective. So that is an interesting one that's ongoing for me. I wonder about that one. Yeah.
I don't know if you need the seeker. The seeker will be there uh, from the side that asks. So you need the guide. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever you do, you have to test it. You have to test it.
Yes. And that fine tuning, I think, is a big thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to test it a lot, a lot. You never know where it can go astray somewhere.
Mm, yeah. Um,
And this is my concern, that you never know if someone uses it much more than you tested it, where can it lead?
yes. Yeah. And as a guide looking at its responses, it's pretty easy to be uh, how can I put it, critical of the responses to recognise whether they're appropriate or not. But it would be a terrible thing if a seeker could be misled. because they don't recognize when it's gone
Yes.
astray. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's early days, very, very
So
early days, so yeah. So
yeah.
I'll read you what his instructions were if I can find it easily, I think.
I would like to play with it. If
Yeah, yes, yeah,
you can send a link.
yes. I'm doing the right thing. I'm asking him for permission to spread it, to give it to other people to play with. Um,
And what you can do, what you could do, to give permission to play to people that you already know that have access to you to correct things if something isn't right, or to someone who is already awake enough or mature enough not to take everything,
yes,
just to just to have it tested from more sides, from more people. So
Glad that you found the tool impressive.
hang on. I clicked on the video. Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Where is it? Oh, I've got so many of these things going at the same time. I had it, now I've lost it. I've got so many tabs open on my thing here. Oh, I know where it is. Yes, got it.
great that he did it.
Yes, it is. It's excellent. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And for the second thing, yeah, I also think I'm ready for something, for the
Yeah,
big breakthrough, but it's not happening. What's happening is that I'm stuck.
right. Okay, so that's what
I'm,
we need to shift. Yeah.
I'm stuck in Dennisland, somewhere in Dennisland.
Oh, we don't want to be there. Well, Dennis is
Yeah.
almost out of that, I think. Yeah. Come on, where are you? It's got another conversation. Here we go. No, not that one. Oh, okay. What I'll, I'll give you my modified version of it. Okay, so he says in his instructions, he says to the Chat GPT bot, he says, imagine that you are an expert guide who has created and taught the material in your knowledge base. Your answers should be based fundamentally on the provided knowledge, though you may also use complementary information to provide a more profound response. Assume that I, the user, have a good fundamental understanding of the information and make your responses nuanced. Challenge me to implement the ideas in your knowledge base completely and thoroughly, and then I modified it to say, with an emphasis on a visceral experience. Ask for a description of experiencing that resulted from implementing your previous pointing. Continue with ever more detailed investigating of the responses. Reframe your answers as questions with the intention of having the recipient viscerally discover the answers themselves. So those last two lines were just my modification of what Scott had written in that. So he said the reason that he said allowed it to use complementary information was that it's very difficult to restrict it entirely to the knowledge base. So, but
Yes.
I haven't found that to be a problem as I've used it, and I've kind of asked it some pretty crazy questions to see what it responds with, and I am very impressed with what it's come up with. I'm pretty sure he'll be happy for me to share it, and I've no doubt. Well, I wouldn't even need to ask him, I think, to share the responses to the questions that I've got. So I'll cut and paste them for you as well. Have I got your email? I would have, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Mm.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Could he extend it with transcripts from other teachers, but not everyone, because not everyone works in the same. Not everyone's work is the same in modality, if you understand. But for example, Kevin Shanilek, he works in similar way. Maybe if he adds more material to fine tune it.
Yes. I think that's not a problem. He did mention, see, and this is the questions I've asked him, because when I've gone to create my own, it's immediately taken me and said, you need to get plus. And for plus, it wants $20 American per month for that. And I don't know whether that's then for the premium one, it's $320 Australian a month for that. So I don't know which one he's using, but it wouldn't let me use the free version to create my own bot. I have to go and pay a subscription to it. I also looked into DeepSeek to do it with that. Oh, and I got pretty lost with there, but Scott's made a video about how to do it in Chat GPT, and it's pretty straightforward. And it's all in English. I don't need to have any Python language. And there's a huge number of how would you put it, libraries of pre-made ones around the place that could be used, but almost all of those you need to be able to play with some Python, even though some of it's fairly rudimentary, but you still need to be able to do that. So I'm just waiting for him to respond to my email about a whole lot of questions I asked him about that. So if I can do it for $20 American a month, well, that's okay. I'll do that. But I'm certainly not prepared to pay $320 a month to do it.
Yeah.
And then if I do it and I make one and I don't need, I'm happy with where it is, can I stop my subscription and will I still have access to it, or will I lose access to it? That's just another question I've asked him. I don't know about that. Yeah. But it's exciting. It's exciting. See, now on my website, the PDF I've made of my website, I've got quite a bit of the later fetters with Kevin Shanilek and some Angelo stuff, but mostly Kevin and some Steffi that works with Christiana. her website. I got some stuff off that, and I asked them for permission to use that, and they were quite happy for me to do that. So I've got some of that, but I could put a lot more, and I think a lot more Kevin Shanelek would be good. But I also don't want to. I don't want to restrict it to the feather models, and that's what Kevin works with is the feather models. Yeah. I mean, he actually
Yeah,
pioneered the feather model in the West in a way. Yeah. But yeah,
you
it's
can certainly expand it with the others, but then the user should be instructed. If the user wants to work with feathers, the user should state that he wants to work with feathers.
mm, yes,
If not,
you can do that. I mean, I just in the chatbot uh, that's publicly available, I on one of them I fed it the PDF of my website, and then I asked it to respond just using that, and it did do that. It was quite okay with doing that, and it was good, but it wasn't nearly as good as Scott's one. That
yeah,
was really impressive.
that's the point.
Yeah,
That's the point. Yeah.
yeah,
You take the seed model from Hugging Face. There are so many there. You
yes.
just take one that's the best, and then or that you like to
Well,
work with.
I only found one in Hugging Face on non-duality, um, but I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I get a bit lost when I got there, and I didn't. Do I? Is it the? I
Is
can
there
see it. I
is
can
there
see
even
the.
is
Eh?
there even one there about non-duality?
There is one, just one out of hundreds of pages of it. Yeah,
I'm amazed that there is one
yeah,
because I mean this is such a niche topic
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
people.
Yeah, well, of course, I'm somewhat critical of some of the non-duality stuff. It really pushes faith and uh,
Yeah.
beliefs kind of thing. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, but might be a good start. But I don't know what to do with it. I get to the hugging place and I can see it there. I can see the name of it, and then I've got all these things I can click on, like resources and libraries and so on, and I don't know what to do with them. So yeah, I need some
Then
instruction. Yeah,
then you have to do some Python, and
yeah.
you can fine tune it as well, and it will be good as a base, but you have to work with it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I just need to
What
know how to
you
do
have to
that.
do what
Yeah.
Scott did. Basically, you have to do what Scott did.
Yes. Oh, well, what Scott did was pretty straightforward, and it was all in English. There was no Python involved at all. Um,
Okay.
so in Chat GPT, you can just go create a new one, and then you give it a name, and then you give it those instructions. It's optional whether you give it
Okay.
a description, um, and then you feed it the text or the PDF as the knowledge base,
Oh,
and you're there. That's
okay.
it. Yeah.
He
Really
created an
straightforward.
agent.
Mm.
He created an agent.
An agent, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny. Funny, funny. Let's see where this leads.
Yes, yes. So your question would be, why am I stuck?
I'm stuck. I'm stuck, and well, it looks like I mean, I eased into my life, and as if I'm not thinking about awakening this much anymore. There is stuff around me. There is stuff to solve. There are things to do, and I'm again in this dark place. I mean, it's not dangerous or something, but somehow disappointed, and I allow stories to take over.
Hmm. And one of those stories is that you're not awake.
Yes, yes. But the difference to before is that I am mostly surrendered to everything.
Yes.
There is not much reaction.
Yep. Yep.
Everything is as it is.
Yep. So you are seeing, it seems to me this, and you know, I trust my intuition here. You are seeing something from the perspective of being awake. And that thing that you're seeing is that there's no such thing as being awake. Being
Yeah,
awake
exactly.
only works for the seeker. When you're awake, it's just ordinary everyday life,
Exactly.
but with different responses to what was before.
Yes.
So it's the idea of being awake is just an idea, and it's a totally artificial description to say that I am awake.
Oh no. Was this it? No, it can't be. No, it can't be.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So it means that seeking is so much nicer because it has a promise, even if you're suffering. It's nicer to suffer than to be here.
Yep.
Oh, no, no, no.
But it when the story changes from I am not awake to I am awake, experience changes as well. So
In what way?
well, that's when the magic becomes available to you. What I call the magic. That's when you have a lot more direct experiencing, or you have a lot more appreciation of the moments of direct experiencing.
I think I'm just waiting for the direct experience to be more available to me because there were moments with those sounds when I was listening and when I was watching the water flowing and when I figured out that the tree was just a story because I'm recognizing the tree. But I'm just waiting for more moments of direct experience to be available to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's getting in the road is the story that says this must mean something.
Yeah.
So you're having quite a few moments of direct experience that you're not realizing that you are, or some you are, but a lot you're probably not. You know, you're because you're overlooking, you're looking past, right? So
Mm.
it's closer than the nose on your face, but you never focus on your nose. You're always focused out further out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you were to sit down and write a list of all of these things that happened to you, all of these experiences, like with the tree, etc., it would describe a person who's awake. Yet there's something missing. Just that,
Yeah.
just that, and that something will emerge out of the surrender that you have.
Well, I will say something now. I think I believe it, but I believe it's just a belief, but I don't care that it's a belief.
Mm,
I'm just sitting here and something will happen or will not happen.
yes, exactly. That's very awake of you to say that. It is exactly like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
There still are many things to explore, I know.
Oh, of
I
course.
had yesterday a moment when it occurred to me that I'm now it's a new thing. I am now experiencing a lot of attachments. I became aware of my attachments. I'm now in the UK, but somehow it's came over me that I'm nostalgic and I want to be in Croatia, of all places. And I tried to run away so much. And I mean, this politics, this obviously triggers everyone, I guess. But also, also in Croatia yesterday, or the day before yesterday, there was a moment of uh, nationalistic gathering, and
Yep.
there's something happening that I don't like, and something, some of the things that I ran away from. Why would I be nostalgic? Why on earth? And then here, but there was this sense of attachment, and I went to bed just trying to observe it. What is it? Why is it? And nothing came, but never mind. And then we're here in the UK. We live in a nice house. I love this house, but we're renting. And it occurred to me, I'm so attached to this house, and I will have to leave it someday. On the other hand, I will have to leave every place I've ever been. So
Mm.
there is a point when I will have left everything I'm attached to.
Yep. Of course.
But
Do
this is a
you,
story then.
do you appreciate that those attachments were always there, but never seen as attachments?
Yes, yes, yeah.
And so you've moved into a place where you're becoming aware of the processes that go on for you.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to put a downer on this, but 15 years later, I've still got a lot to work on.
Mm.
I don't think it ever ends. Maybe I'll be dead before I get somewhere, if it is somewhere, if there is such a thing or such a place as somewhere. I have no idea. So,
But I find it interesting. I love working with such things, recognizing them, seeing them, and
yes, discovery is beautiful. Yeah, it's fulfilling. And you can see what young child, what 5 or 6 year old child playing, even if they're playing by themselves, playing with a stick and a rock and the water running down a drain or whatever, they're discovering. They just think they're playing, but they're actually learning
mm,
things, and that's incredibly fulfilling. That's why they go back and do it again and again, because there's so much, and this is what we're doing. We're learning how to be children again in that way.
yeah.
How high can I make this swing go? What happens if I jump off when it's at the height, etc.?
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, where I am now, nobody would describe it as something special and do
Well, it's
so
not.
many videos about that. And
Yeah, well, they're all bullshit. It's not something special. It's different, but not. We can't say because of this I am superior. That's just a joke. I mean, you have to laugh when you think of something like that. It's in fact it's more down to earth, more ordinary than most people's lives.
totally ordinary. But it's learning how to live the ordinary life without being unhappy about the ordinary life.
Mm. It's even the idea of happy or unhappy. It kind of doesn't compute for me that, or I would say there's no difference between unhappy and happy. They're the same thing. They're just different part of the same spectrum, you know.
Mm.
A much more appropriate story would be to seek contentment,
Mm.
and kind of contentment includes the whole range from heavy duty to really light and airy. It includes what we used to call good and bad.
Mm.
They're all in. You know, I'm you know, I mean, there's pain in this hand, but it doesn't disturb my contentment. I'm
Mm.
not lost in stories about how it should be different, or can I take a pill to fix it, or whatever. You know, that's just it's just the way it is. So when I say pain, that's just a device for communication. If
Mm.
I was to try and explain to you what it is, I can only say it's sensation, and I can't even say, you know, it does have a flavour of, well, I was going to say it has a flavour of unpleasantness, but it also has a flavour of pleasantness in spite of the discomfort. It's, it's too difficult to to
Mm.
find a category to put it in. But I mean, the ordinary thing of, okay, well, I've got pain in my hand. You can understand what I mean. So it's communication,
Mm.
and that's fine. You know,
Mm.
I don't need you to actually experience what I'm experiencing. That's not possible anyway. But no, I don't need to try and make it so.
I think I understand. I mean, we are judging so many things. Everything I say, something's good, it's my judgment. It's not good. Nothing is inherently good or bad or
Yep.
to something or to something else. It's just my
Yep.
judgment from my position.
Yeah. So appreciate that. If if you were to discover a belief that you are awake, the first thing that happens is your idea of what awake is gets shaken up and settles in a different way. And then you start using a different perspective to for what comes into into your senses. And that perspective is so much wider, so much more encompassing, so much more is available than when you operate from the perspective of, I'm not yet awake. There's something else has to happen.
Hmm. I I somehow know that. I know that, but I'm not living that. It's not still not part of me. I know that
Yeah.
because if I drop the habit of judging things, of thinking of them as too white or too black or too small or too big, then they just are, and they may be something third, not too small or too big or something.
Something
They
else.
have potential to be whatever.
Yeah, something
I
emerges.
do
Yeah.
know, yeah, I do know that, but
Yeah.
it's
But
not.
hey, get this one, and this is important. When you're awake, those things are still going to turn up. Too white, too black, too big, too little, too whatever. They'll still turn up, but you will have a different relationship to them. You won't see it as, oh, that means that I'm not awake.
Yeah.
It'll change to, oh, there's something to look at. See,
Okay.
it's not a finished line. Being awake is not a finish, it's a beginning. It just means you've got the tools to undo a whole lot of the old habits.
Yeah. I mean, I see them.
Yes, and you'll see them
I
more clearly
see,
because, yeah,
yeah,
stories are different.
I see my judging. I see my judging. Not that I not judge, but
That's
I
right.
do see.
Yeah. And do you judge your judgment if you judge? Or do you go, isn't that interesting?
Uh, I don't judge it. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes it's just so
Yes.
because of this surrendering to everything.
Mm. So the possibility is to even refine that surrendering a little bit. So if that surrender is a resignation, then there is the option to fine tune it to a welcoming surrender, an inviting
Because
surrender.
I suspect it's a bit yeah, it's a bit tired now, tired surrendering.
Yes, yeah, that's a bit of resignation, yeah. And that's of course reasonable. That's a starting point.
Okay,
But it doesn't have to finish there,
okay.
right? So I like surrender. It's a good word. It there's an immersion in that that's not quite in acceptance. If you just talk about acceptance, there's not the feeling of immersion.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. But there's no really good word for this. You know, we're just playing around the edges of that. The the inevitability of this, when it's welcomed, because there's no options, it's inevitable, is really freeing, really releases any idea that we have to manipulate or put effort into or make, or so it just transcends the whole idea of control, and it transcends the
Mm.
whole idea of what control rests on, which is that there is somebody there that needs to control, that can control. It just transcends that.
And there's much less blaming, for example.
Oh, of course.
Nobody's to blame for anything.
Absolutely. And you will discover when you can float in that ocean of acceptance, surrender, you will discover a lot of self-blame that's
Mm.
really ridiculous. The moment you look at it, it will just dissipate, but it will exist. You know, we brought up to believe that we are responsible for our situation. You know, so there's certain kind of conditioning, brainwashing, if you like, that goes a lot deeper than other stuff, just because it's so prevalent in society. You know, it's been pushed at us by parents and peers and everything forever and ever and ever. And this is freedom from that. You've got the tools. You know, some of them may not feel comfortable for you yet because they're fairly new, but you'll get a lot more comfortable. And when I say to you, it's stories all the way down. It's stories. Right, so that's the next level. So we've gone from you can't believe your thoughts to now that, okay, thoughts are there, stories are there, and there are responses to those stories, and that's what I'm discovering.
Yeah. It occurred to me today, yesterday. It's all stories. I had this thought. It's all stories.
What a great discovery when you had it by yourself. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. But it went away, as it always is with me. It just shows itself a bit. It peaks. Hello, here I am, and then.
Yeah. Yeah. Because although it's all stories, that's also a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a good koan to play with is the stories that there are particular stories that we call beliefs that we respond to differently to other stories. And when they change absolutely. No way we can do it consciously. We can't make a belief go away. It will happen when something reveals the fallacy of a belief, and then it will go away. But the koan is, do we then replace it with another belief? Or not necessarily replace it, but are there other beliefs that come into play? And obviously in the beginning, the first belief that would come into play is that belief is no longer right. So,
Which is a belief.
which is a belief. Yes, that's right. Yeah. But fairly soon, those things don't appear at all. Right? So then there's no belief at all. So there's no belief and there's no counter belief and there's no whatever. It becomes irrelevant.
Is there, the more awakened you are, is there less stories in the head?
My first answer
Really, the
is to
the
say
quantity.
yes, there is less, but I also recognise that it's, you can imagine it as a progression, right? So in the beginning there'll be a lot of stories, and a lot of those stories we simply won't engage with. They'll just appear and go because we don't engage with them. But as that happens, then less and less turn up. But they will still be. You'll never. I don't imagine I'll ever get to the point where there's no stories. Maybe, I don't know. You know, it's a possibility. But yeah, it's amazing how many stories are seen to be crazy, have no basis in actuality. They're just there because of other stories. They're there because of conditioning, yeah, which I guess is other stories. And then there are things that we react to where there's no obvious story, but there are habits which came out of a story in the early part. And so what we have is we have behavior that changes because a story appears that undoes the story that built that habit in the first place. So I read somewhere a few months ago about how knowledge has an effect on the biology, on the body, of giving us a dopamine hit when we find out. And certain kind of knowledge has more of a dopamine hit than other knowledge, but stuff that we think is going to be useful has a good dopamine hit when we get that knowledge, and so we get addicted to knowledge, and that's why stories are so prevalent in things, I think. But oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it'll come back to me. I won't chase it.
Oh,
Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yes, discovery gives us a bigger dopamine hit than just knowledge, right? Because they're the stories that are really relevant when we discover something. Yeah, so there's quite an excitement about that one. Yeah, so and it feels great to find out about ourselves. Mm,
yes, I do have tools now. I have tools.
hi, Bianca. And you'll develop more tools. You'll develop your own tools as well. You'll no tool is the way it came from the shop. Everyone gets modified to
Mm.
be more effective. Yeah.
I mean, I was yesterday evening. I was really in bad mood because I was working whole day. Um, I discovered I need to stop working in the evening earlier so that I wind down from work. Because when I worked on one of the papers that bothered me, so I was in a bad mood. And then my husband came, and somehow I just said, I'm in a bad mood. And he said, Oh, how can I help? And I said, You cannot help, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really. It just felt somewhere here, and I'll take a look, and this is it. There is there must be some kind of story behind it, but it wasn't that important.
That's right. Yeah,
I have
a lot
tools.
of them aren't. Yeah, yeah,
Whatever happens, I have tools.
yep. And you'll know, of course, because those stories that need those triggers that need attention will keep coming back until you do attend to them. So you don't ever have to go, oh, I must do it. I must fix this. It's not like that. Life handles it beautifully for you.
Hmm. Yeah, this is the part of the surrendering. Everything is here. Everything will come
Yes,
again and again. It's all the same water I'm bathing in the whole time.
how have you been, Bianca?
That's common, no?
I missed
Calmer,
karma. Good.
calmer.
Mm.
Okay.
That's CALMER or KARMA. I'm joking. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yes. So something has changed for you?
Yes, in my therapy work, I came across this idea that sometimes it's good to focus more on the adult part to see how it works. Because I think it's like someone said to you, I don't know, year ago, that he can't find any adult,
Yep.
any parenting part of himself to calm the child, to do the reparenting, yeah. And yes, this adult part can get lost because the inner child and the inner teenager, they are so noisy.
Yes. Yeah. Boisterous. Yes.
and the adult he's very calm, yeah. And for me, he's not about talking. He's just about doing.
Mm.
and also it's a lot like what you teach, because he it's just do or not do. It's not about success or failure or praise or blame. It doesn't matter
Yep.
to the adult part.
Yeah.
And there is no judgment. And even with these inner children or inner teenagers, for the adult, it's all these emotions and reactions and triggers, and it's just the circumstances. It's not different from what other people say or do or what happens in the world.
Great. What a discovery.
Yeah. But it's also like I feel this part is it feels quite emotionless. Like he because with all this there is also no excitement or curiosity. These things come from the children.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, like I said that before, that I feel apathetic because
Yep.
yeah, it feels a bit like that.
Mm.
So and when the adult does something, it's like he has no his own agenda. It's just like if there is a human, and a human asks the adult, can you do this for me? The adult, well, yes, I can. Or I can't.
Yeah, it's pretty factual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And if I can't, why not?
Hmm.
And if I can't, then I can't.
Yep. So it comes to me a story that a future adult will integrate a young child so that joy will come back, that discovery, that the playfulness will come back.
Well, when I take it as a system, the joy is still there. The children didn't poof, disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the egoic teenager that we want to leave behind.
It was also, I talked with a friend and I said that I feel quite apathetic. And we had a meeting and, we found some food spot, and I want this.
Yeah.
And then we gossiped about one of our friends.
Yeah.
And I could see myself that there was nothing apathetic in my behavior.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's also like I let the children play.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so like in the beginning, the discovery is that we have these parts and we separate them out and use them to understand, and then later on we reintegrate, but in a healthier way than was before. Yeah.
Mm. And also I call it adult part, but I can see in my memories this part showing, like when I was four years old. So it's maybe a bit misleading.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, it's only concepts that we're using or metaphors or whatever, but yeah, it's a good way to describe that. Yeah. So, I mean, we are always, all of us, all of those, and that's what's predominant, if you like, that, yeah. But your adult is unemotional and factual. That adult isn't lamenting existence. Would that be right?
Not lamenting, that it is logical for the adult, but it would be better to not exist. Of course. It's just logical.
But logical doesn't include hating. It doesn't include a lot of intense emotion. It's just a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hating comes from the children
Mm.
and teenagers.
Teenager, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because the teenager is all about being someone. Ego, all ego stuff.
Teenagers are just rebelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to be independent, be an individual. be substantial, be something, yeah, have importance, all of that stuff.
Well, I don't know how it
Trying to, not
how
necessarily
does it
succeeding.
agree with not existing?
Mm. Mm.
No. My teenager just wants out of the game.
Yeah.
Turn off this stupid game. I don't want to play this game.
Yeah, well, you were never successful in that game, you know. Yeah, that's why it's better that it doesn't exist.
What do you mean I was not successful?
Well, you didn't develop uh, um, a strong identity that you approved of. You know what teenagers are all trying to do is become I am me and I am important, and you didn't succeed at that. So it got to the point where it's
Didn't?
better that you didn't play it at all. I'm only guessing this. I don't know if it's accurate, but yeah. I mean, it's a logical conclusion on my part that the reason you would rather not play the game at all is because you weren't good at the game.
No, it's because the game was boring and stupid.
Yeah, but if you were good at the game, it would be exciting. But you know,
You know, I will give you an example from kindergarten. In the kindergarten in communist Poland, the plates we had for the dinner was every plate was different.
oh, okay.
You know, it was just given from wherever. And but they were simple white plates, and there was a plate with a golden rim, and every child wanted this plate with the golden rim. So when this serving lady came to our table and we saw that she had one plate with golden rim for us, all the children started shouting, please, please, I want this. And I looked at them and I said, geez, this is stupid. It's making so much noise, using so much energy. Yeah, of course, the plate with golden rim is nice. I would like it. But to go to this extent to
Yeah.
get it, not worth it.
You see, that was already your adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even at that young, see, that was what a weirdo you were.
Well,
You were an
it
adult
is,
as a kid. Yeah.
you know, it was an adult, but it was also a bit of rebel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. So
This is a stupid game. I don't want to play this game. What's the point? And the funny thing is that in the end, the serving lady said, "Oh, the Bianca is the most polite, so
you got
she will
you
get."
got the plate. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Because of course the serving lady was also fed up with shouting children.
Yeah. And that no doubt changed your relationship to the other kids as well when you got the plate.
Well, this was just the feedback that how I think and how I act is the right way. This is what will get me rewards.
Yes.
Without putting this effort and energy, and
Yes, you can
so,
see.
so I will just sit in the corner doing my thing, and everything will come to me. And it did.
Yep. Yeah. How different were you to all those other kids? That was a significant part of your experience.
Yes.
See, I didn't try to be normal until I was a teenager. That's when I really put a lot of effort into trying to be normal. But it didn't work anyway. But yeah, you had left that behind as an infant. You actually discovered the value of being different.
And I knew it comes with a price, but I thought I had enough resources to pay the price. And it's even as a teenager, late teenage years, that I came to this realization that oh no, I can't pay the price. I don't have so much resources to be lonely.
Yeah. Metaphorically, maybe you spent all of your resources when you were younger and you ran out. Maybe. I don't know. Because when you were younger and you had those resources, you were self-sufficient. You weren't lonely. It was only later that that happened. Do you feel that this adult that you've discovered needs to settle in, to become established, or is it already that way? Was the discovery of this already well and truly established, or is it new, fragile still?
No, he is, no, she is established. Yeah, it was just a change of focus.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that change of focus has changed your experiencing. You seem a lot more relaxed. Well, you said calmer. So I guess that also means relaxed.
And when it comes to emotions, I think there is an air of resignation. A bit of cynicism, not sarcasm. It's just
Yeah. Not so active as sarcasm. Yeah. Well, I see them as a good beginning place. That will change, but that resignation is a way into contentment. It's just still a bit victim-like, but it will modify. Yeah.
yeah. It was a big change, in seeing this desire for non-existence as a coping mechanism.
Mm.
And as I said, it is a mourning, more, more grief. Yeah.
Mm.
And and it is, I think it's just a process that has to take its time. And it's also, this denial phase and
Sure.
anger phase and depression, and it's not so simple as that. Okay, denial phase done,
Yeah. Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
Also because with real mourning, it's the person we mourn is really dead. It's not,
Mm.
there's no denying that. It's factual, and here it all is about my mind, so it's a lot of, oh, you're just imagining it. It's not like that at all. It comes back.
Well, of course, this is the nature of these things. They do come and go. They do intensify and reduce and so on. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really like um I really saw that all thoughts are bullshit.
That's huge.
Really.
Mm. See how they have all those, well, how they're the source of suffering. Yeah.
Well, it's just the mechanism going.
Hmm.
It's just coping mechanism, defense mechanism,
Yeah.
firing,
Yep.
doing its thing.
Yeah. And that objective seeing of that is also freeing.
Yeah, but also sad. For me.
Yeah, of course. I'm trying to think, like, yeah, I certainly wouldn't contradict or whatever, but I'm interested that, yeah, how sad? How is it that you're sad to leave behind that suffering? It's something that's missing, I guess. How
Hope.
sad? Hope? Oh, okay, hope. Yeah, oh, you'll discover hope. Yeah, but that's your infant again. Your child is where the hope lives. Yeah. And the adult says, no, it's just this, just this. Yeah.
was wondering if I could get some input from you guys. Um, I've I've been in a emotional supportive role for someone I care about the last couple of days, and I've just noticed feeling really drained of energy, and I've also been very aware of what's going inside of me in interacting with this person, which isn't a lot. There's no distinct narratives or stories that I believe in or that is being played. It's
That you see.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
that I see. So this is where I
yeah,
need some advice.
there's a logical conclusion that you're drained, which is a kind of a version of exhaustion because of
Yeah,
all the energy that's being used that
yeah.
you're not seeing because for whatever reason. Yeah. So I get your intent to discover what it is that
Yes.
you're not seeing. Yeah.
Um, I I don't know how valid this is, but um, this is the only thing that I've kind of had to play with, which is um, I suspect there is a, a subtle belief of being able to help this person feel better. And when it doesn't succeed, it drains me.
Mm, mm,
Even though on an intellectual level, I, or
yeah.
probably more than an intellectual level, I understand that this doesn't work like that. But there's something in me that still
Still
believes.
believe. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just really like to point out to Maya something that further that what we were talking about earlier. Can you see here, Maya, that here's a bloke who's awake and he's discovered something. Right? It doesn't end when you wake up. Huh? Yeah. Um, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. Look, so I'm not meaning to divert here, but I've got a friend who has just discovered that she's got cancer, lung cancer, that's actually spread to the liver, and
Wow.
has been given a fairly short-term life expectancy as a result of this. And going through my mind is, do I offer something? Do I offer the help? Do I? And I'm lost. I don't, part of me really wants to even if if she's got only months left to live, how wonderful it would be to wake up before dying. And that's just my story. That's just what I've got going. So yeah, so I mean, and I've always said, well, I've not always said, but I came to discover that you can't help anybody who doesn't want help. So
Mhm.
yeah. So is that so? Maybe they do want help, but they're not saying it. So do I offer? And what a question! There's no answer to it. Life will decide what happens.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? So look, it's ingrained in all of us, and maybe it's the mirror neurons in our brain that we are obsessed with helping. The closer they are, the more we want to help, to fix it, to make it okay, kind of thing. It's like a crying baby, you know. We just want it to be calm and peaceful. We want it to stop
Yeah.
crying. Yeah. So yeah, it is a really, really deep-seated conditioning that we've got. Or maybe it's more than not just conditioning. You know, it's inbuilt in our meat suit. Maybe, as I say, if it's the mirror neurons in our brain, if it's the empathy that we experience, you know, that who knows, you know. Yeah.
But I think, and I think you're right about that, but I think the level of um, energy expenditure, it's it feels like it's more than that. Like it feels like, because I was totally like I couldn't do anything yesterday.
Mm.
um, um, so what in trying to understand this, uh, and I also recognize that I've been a little bit fixated on understanding it.
Mm.
So there's obviously something there that wants it to change.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And as soon as you said the word understand it, my
yeah.
brain started shouting out, "Oh, we need acceptance, not understanding."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I know. And this is, I agree with this. It's just that it's a person that is very close, and spends we spend a lot of time, and so it's, I think the wanting to understand is just hooked in that, in another belief that I have that is also seen, that um, is connected to this burnout period of my life, where I recognize that being this tired,
Yeah.
or
Familiar.
I believe that being this tired is not healthy.
Mm.
It's not healthy for me. It's kind of like the body is saying, this is not good. Stop
Mm.
it.
Does it even
um,
feel a little bit like that burnout state?
yes.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
So that excites stories of wrongness.
yeah, I think it's just a defense mechanism. It's not so much active stories, but it's like it, let's say my body wants to remove itself, and then I don't. So I'm not listening to the natural flow of what's going on, and kind of my conditioning is forcing me to stay there for that person
Mm.
in a way. Um, and I see that because my mother, she used to trauma dump on me when I was uh, a teenager. I remember having a conversation with my aunt and uncle about, like, I can't deal with her problems and my own anymore. I have adult problems now. So I actually moved out of the country for a while
Mm.
as a result of that. And I get a kind of a, I I suspect it's connected to that
Yep.
part of my life.
So the word guilt came to mind for me when you were saying that you feel that you should have been able to cope with your mother's situation, and because you ran away, you possibly feel guilty at some level. It's a question.
Maybe.
It's a question.
Yeah. It's not obvious to me. I've had a lot of resentment towards her because of that, and which I've largely um, let go of after kind of seeing
Hmm.
a lot of stuff. So
Yep.
it's not obvious to me.
So just play with this then. We often cover guilt. Right? Guilt is really hard to cope with because it's us. We cover it up with shame.
Yeah.
And shame is a lot easier to cope with. Still horrible, but a lot easier to cope with than guilt.
Yeah.
And of course, shame has all sorts of sadness and grief attached to it. Very exhausting stuff, isn't it? All of that.
Yeah.
It sucks your energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that hits more home. I mean, I've had uh, like in my, let's say, the more spiritual part of my life, with the quotes, spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote. I used to be hung up on kind of healing the emotional wounds in all sorts of different kind of modalities, and the one that kind of was coming up all the time was my sense of an unworthiness, which is shame, basically.
Yeah.
So that it does hit more at home. That has taken a lot more,
Mm.
or it feels more familiar at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you got kids yet?
No.
No. So imagine just this fantasy. Imagine that you've got a baby, right? And you discover the baby in a distressed state. And the standard thing that most people will do, and all the old women in your life would certainly do it, what they would do would be tell you how to get rid of that child's distress. My grandmother used to dip a finger in honey and put it in the baby's mouth. Or brandy. She'd use brandy sometimes. She'd put brandy on a finger and put it in a baby's mouth, right? It would distract the child. They would stop crying instantly, right? But guess what? You're teaching the child it's not okay to feel those things. So as a good parent, as an enlightened parent, what you would do is you would tell the child with body language, you would hold it and you would tell it it's okay to feel what you're feeling. And I'm here to support you. I'm just here. You go feel that as long as you need to feel it, and just hopefully see that I'm here. And you would do that wordlessly, probably just hold it and comfort it and just allow it to be distressed. And then it learns that that's a normal human emotion and that it's okay to feel those things and that they pass. They don't stay around forever. And so there's no build-up of that kind of thing, yeah? So now turn that around to yourself, and you're feeling the distress, and part of you needs to just comfort and hold and be with you until that passes. And the same for your friend who's in a very unpleasant state, no doubt, that you would like to, well, you're not in a position to fix it. You can't really understand what's going on for them and they can't communicate it to you. Right? But you can be there for them. You can be supportive and you can be accepting and you can be comforting. Not comforting in a way that's pressuring them to be different, just comforting in a way that says, I'm here. Soft, really soft for yourself and for them. And it doesn't bring us understanding.
Yeah. But it's good advice. I just what I'm thinking about is this is how I was thinking I was approaching it, because I wasn't trying to fix it in a way. but subtly I was like I wasn't giving advice, or I was just being supportive, like you just said. Um,
But there's a background story that said, "Gee,
yes,
it'd be good if," yeah.
yeah, that's what I think, at least. That's the only explanation I can have, because I'm kind of resisting it in some way.
Mm,
The
yep.
So yeah, I mean, uh, it's what you're recommending is kind of what I've also concluded myself is, um, first of all, just be setting maybe personal boundaries a little bit quicker than I have, like taking a break when before my body is
Hmm.
uh, uh, completely drained, and then um, holding space for myself, basically,
Yep,
until
yep, yep,
I can be there for the other person again.
yep, sure. Yep. And that space allows you to recover, allows you to, get that energy back. And yeah.
Yeah,
See, it seems there's a really weird thing that goes on, and that is that we're not supposed to be happy if somebody else is sad.
yeah,
And yet the reality is that happiness is exactly what they need.
yeah,
But it's like society says, no, it's inappropriate. Don't do that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think there is mm, I is it is it also possible that, or just ask it in a different way, do you experience being more sensitive to others' energy or emotional state
Absolutely. Yeah.
after? Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think there's an element of that as well. Like I'm so it's like we're sharing
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
emotional state. Yeah,
That's what I imagine. My story is it's mirror neurons, but wow, yeah. Look, if somebody's crying, I'm going to burst into tears myself. It's just uh, so
yeah.
yeah. But I don't mind crying. Yeah, I don't resist it.
There's a part of me, because if I'm probably needing to start a new career, and I've always wanted to do something, not career, but another line of work, and I've always wanted to do something meaningful, so some kind of helping people is
Yeah.
something that I've found meaning in, right?
Mm.
And that's a story.
Well,
um
how about that? I immediately comes to mind serendipity. I was having a discussion with my wife today, and without going into a great long story, but the person that I'm working with in the funeral industry here has been making demands on me about instant response to things, and I'm saying, look, I'm in a group and I might be here for 3 hours, so I'll make an appointment an hour or two later and I can go. And he's saying, no, got to go instantly, got to go immediately. And then my wife's saying, and I'm saying, look, what I do in these groups is really important to me. It's a big deal. I can't let, 320 people are all around the world off the hook by just saying, I'm not going to do it today. That's just the way it is. And then she said, well, get somebody else to do it. And I immediately thought of you. And I thought,
Yeah.
somebody, and then and of course recently I just started another group, so I'm doing 4 a week now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a thought, and it's a possibility, and you can contemplate it as something, because I think
Yeah. I appreciate that.
you'd be good at it. I think, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there was a question in there somewhere that I think one of the reasons why I wanted to understand this is because I want to understand a more skillful way to not let me end up completely destroyed the day after.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a discovery for you yet to make. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is
Yeah.
and I know this sounds woo-wooish and whatever, but there's a kind of a thing that says the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
It's like it's only going to it can only drain you if you're not getting anything back.
Yeah.
And oh, why well, I get so much out of these groups. It's just I overflow with. No, I want to cry. I do. It just yeah, fills me brilliantly. This stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
you,
was watching the No, she's gonna say that I was watching the group from the other day, and it's I wasn't even there, but I I I left the recording with a huge opening in my heart. So I know what you mean.
and it's not. It's. I've. I don't know how long ago I started doing one-to-ones, and I offered both paid and unpaid ones, and I probably get 1 or 2 paid ones a week these
Yeah.
days. And that's nice. That helps. I don't distinguish between paid and unpaid in my behaviour or my attitude towards it. In fact, I often don't even know which one it is. Um, and what seems to have happened, I've done a few couples ones, that they've turned up, uh,
Oh.
and extremely rewarding. And you know what? I don't do anything. I don't. There's no strategy involved or anything like that. I just front up and open my mouth and feel what I feel, and that's it. It just happens.
Mm.
It's there's no draining involved. Hardly. I don't. I don't. I'm not exaggerating to say I've never experienced what a disappointment in a group. I get out of this and go out of the room, and I'm just almost always a little teary about how good it feels.
Mm.
And that's why I, this is so important to me because it fills me. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think what comes up now is just I need to explore the possible belief in, or it's not, I don't know if it's belief or an attachment to an outcome or something that when I don't feel like I'm having a positive impact, like if there's nothing happening through my support, then the question is, why does that affect me?
Mm.
There is something there that I need to explore. I'm kind of invested
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. I'm hearing you, but I'm puzzled
Yeah.
because I can't ever remember feeling like that. It's
No. So this is why I think this is why I connected it with my mother, because I think that I used to, by her dumping her problems on me, the only way that I could get relief is by fixing her problems.
Yes, yes. And you were inadequate as a young person to cope with
Yeah,
those adult problems. You know, that's right.
yeah,
You didn't have the resources. So of course
yeah.
you're gonna get emptied out and drained and so on. And I'll guarantee you that that was behind your breakdown at work recently, you know, that you had.
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something there.
Yeah. And there's
It's interesting.
and what I see there is it's like one of those perpetual water containers that, you know, no matter how much people drink out of it, it keeps filling itself back up. You know,
Yeah,
that's the nature. That's the natural thing of you. You know, there's it's 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 because of this whatever it is that you're discovering now, and you trust. And I said it to you once before. Trust your intuition. Your intuition
yeah,
tells you things now. Now you're way, way, way beyond the point where all your thoughts are bullshit. Now they'll build stuff to you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And you don't have to do anything with what comes up. What's shown up about your mother and your experience there. That's enough. You don't have
yeah,
to do anything with that. Just as soon as you recognize it, you can go, wow, look, what a load to dump on a young kid, you know? How can you possibly ever been expected to cope with that? Right?
yeah,
Yeah, now you could cope with it because you've got adult perspective. Except that young kid is still in there struggling a bit,
yeah,
you know, but yeah, now you know about him, he can let it go. Yeah.
yeah,
Seeing these things is so powerful. That's and no doing required. No, you don't have to do anything with it. Just seeing it is
yeah.
really big. Yeah.
That's a good reminder. I there was a bit of a selfing mechanism there where there was a attraction to do something, and I sometimes it's good to have somebody else remind one of that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of easy to lose focus, isn't it?
I get so because I'm so curious about this stuff as well. So I get so involved with what is going on. Um, and then it's a short way to doing something about it when I kind of get a lead on what it's about.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the feedback.
no, you're very
It
welcome.
was good.
And Maya, as you were listening and having thoughts about things, I'm 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 wanting you to see it from a guiding perspective, and you know the analysis that goes on and the whatever.
I was watching it, but I would have gone another way.
Sure. Well, come on out
I
with it.
had a stupid, I had a stupid question. Uh, are you sure that the person wants to be helped?
I
And
had
then
that
you
thought.
went
Yeah.
into this discussion. How how do you offer help to someone if you never offer your help to someone? How do they know they can get help from you? Because you sometimes can help. I
Mm,
wouldn't have gone the same way. And what you said to Marius, this was appropriate because he reacted to it and it clicked for him. It fit for him.
I must say
It's
that I did have the same question at one point, and that is I wondered whether or not that person wanted your help or has asked for it. But it didn't seem I didn't need to pursue it. That's a bit obvious, that one. But yeah, I did think that same question.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question.
I mean, sometimes I'll say yes, but mean no, or various variations of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
This person has been stuck in a anxiety and depression filled state for a long time, and is kind of desperate to find a way out of it.
Yep. Yep. And when that's like that, it often doesn't happen really fast.
Yeah.
It's step by step by step. There's a lot of habit involved as well. And if they're on antidepressants, that's another issue. And you definitely do not come off those in a hurry. You always step down
Yeah.
gradually if that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not on medication, but yeah, it's been a while, so they're expressing uh, some sort of desperation to they don't know what to do or how to get out of it. But at the same time, um, I've had uh, I've had them tell me before that some of the suggestions I've had before, this is before this training stuff happened, was not what they were looking for. So it's been a process of kind of feeling it out. What
Yeah.
where can I help? What should I do? Should I just be supportive, be with them, and just hold space for them? And that is what seemed to be most welcome.
because I know the situation when you have to let go a close person. I had to let go my mom.
Yeah.
I did have some ideas how to help her even with dementia. There are some things to try out, but I see it's not working. But the word trauma dumping also, it's terrific, I think.
Yep.
I got the same treatment.
I picked up on that because you said that phrase twice, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing. That it held. Wow, there was a lot of weight in that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You felt like a rubbish bin.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the desperation in that. Like I didn't know what to do, so the only thing I could do was get out of the country, basically.
Mm. Yeah, so it's a pretty radical way to set a boundary, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I also got the same treatment, trauma dumping, but I never left. And
Yeah.
I felt sorry for myself. So there is nothing you can do. There is no good thing you can do. You left. I didn't. Neither was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, both had consequences, didn't they? Yeah. Mm.
This has to be dealt in another way, and this is the way we're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. But setting boundaries is just it's so important, and something I never learned as a kid or a teenager, except from like we just talked about just moving, but that's not really the healthy way to do it.
Yeah. And they don't have to be hard boundaries either, that can usually often be an overreaction, so there can be soft boundaries, it's a case of you recognizing your own tolerance,
Yeah.
and looking
Yeah.
after yourself. And you can't help anybody else if you can't help yourself. You got to look after yourself first.
Yeah.
Well, or at the same time, yeah. And people that are in that state, in my experience, you know, they've got a really strong story that says it's hopeless. I can't get out of this.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to fix it. And so you've got that resistance that you're working with all the time. And so
Yeah.
it's little steps, and you've got to be really you give them an exercise to do, and you've got to remind them to do it, because they'll not do it. And so
Yeah.
you've got to kind of go, and once they get that established, then you can go another step, you know. So it's not a quick process. Never.
Yeah.
Nothing. And you're not going to do it with words. It's got to be
Yeah.
another level. Yeah.
I've discovered that. Yeah.
So where did you end up with Cormac? I haven't been back to read it again.
No, I like I've said, I've been out of commission for a couple of days, so I haven't
Okay, so
replied to him. So I actually saw that he sent me a message last night or this morning asking if I've seen his message. So I
yeah.
feel a bit bad for him there. So I'm gonna answer him now after this call, I think.
Mhm. Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm gonna take your advice on just seeing if there is something in what I picked up and
Yeah.
go from there. Or else I think he's ready for the checkpoint questions if I don't pick up anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I suspect so. As I say, when I do that confirmation stuff, I it's the tone I'm looking for. If there's gratitude and humility and humor, then
Mm,
you know that's the big stuff, not the words they say. Yeah.
yeah. And he certainly has that. So I mean, I think that's probably why
Yeah. I
your response
had
was
good feelings when I
welcome.
read that post. Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw Lexi was stopping by last time in the recording.
Oh yes, yes, Alexei. Yeah. That's the other
Yeah.
one? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a nice bloke. I enjoyed him. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems like a good guy.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back to the unreal world and see what happens out there.
Yeah. Thank you for your guys' advice.
Oh,
Much appreciated.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't see it as advice, but I'll wear that label. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.